The reason we love Rocky is because he can take a punch and he gets back up and he pushes through the pain. And I can almost guarantee your favorite movie is the same. It may not be physical pain, but some sort of pain someone's pushing through. It inspires us when people do that. Forget movies. The people in your life, the stories that move you the most, they're all stories of people moving beyond their pain. And that's what I want to talk to you about today as we continue our series, Good Medicine. I want to talk to you about a word, this word, grit. What is grit? If I was going to give you a definition today, it would simply be this: the strength to stand up one more time than you get knocked down. Let me say that again. Grit is the strength to get up one more time than you get knocked down. And I think it's a very appropriate message and good timing for us to talk about grit because it's what we need during this season. You know, during a crisis, you need grit kind of more than other times in life. And what I want you to see today is this fact. It's a kind of a big idea for today is this, that grit is required for greatness. It's required for greatness. You'll never accomplish something big in this world until you learn to develop grit. And here's why. And I'm just gonna quote the great philosopher, Rocky Balboa. I think he said this in Rocky 58. Feels like there's that many. He said this: let me tell you something you don't know already. Okay, I'm not gonna do the accent, just listen. Let me tell you something you know already. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place. And I don't care how tough you are. It will beat you to your knees and keep you permanently there if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. I love that quote because Rocky tells us what we all know from experience, that life is full of pain and there are no exceptions. So we have to learn how to develop grit. But Rocky, and others by the way, are not the original authors of the message of having to push through pain and how to develop grit. Actually, God is. You cannot open up scripture without seeing the idea of grit just jump off the pages. We're gonna see some of that, but one example would be every hero of the faith in scripture had to have grit to push through pain to accomplish God's great purposes in their life. Let me just give you a few examples. Noah, Abraham, Joshua, Moses, David, Daniel, Peter, John, Paul, everyone in between. When you look at their lives, they had to have grit. So it's no surprise that when we talk about the heroes of the faith, which there's a list of them in Hebrews chapter 11, when we come to Hebrews chapter 12, which is right after a discussion about these heroes, listen to what it says in Hebrews chapter 12, starting in verse 1. Therefore, thinking about all these heroes, since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. And then what do we have to do? Watch this. And let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. That word perseverance, when you translate it, if you looked at the original language, it really just means grit. There's different words translated throughout scripture. 32 times throughout the New Testament, we're told we need grit. And it's translated sometimes perseverance, sometimes endurance, at times to stand, but it's the same exact word, just translated different ways, and it means grit. And Jesus taught us we need grit. I mean, he didn't hold any punches. Listen to how clear Jesus was in John 16:33. He said, in this world, you will have trouble. Of course, you're gonna have pain, so you better learn to develop grit to push through it. And the more you study the life of Jesus, I think one thing becomes really clear. And man, just let this sink in today. It's this, that God sometimes delivers us from our pain, but more often, he carries us through it. Let me say that again. God often delivers us from our pain. Like we just skip over the pain, but you know your life. That doesn't happen all the time. More often than not, God carries you through your pain. So many times in my life, I've asked God to take away the pain, but more often than not, God's helped deliver me through it. And that doesn't sound very good until you understand what we talked about 2 weeks ago when Mark looked at the backside of pain. When you look at the backside of pain, it's in your rearview mirror and you can see into your future. You know that God used your pain for his great purpose. So if you try to, eliminate and avoid all pain, you'll avoid growth. You will. We talked about this throughout this series, this formula that growth equals change. And change equals loss. And anytime there's loss equals pain. So if you follow the formula through, growth equals pain. You have to accept that fact. I'll just give you one silly example. How many of you like going to the gym and really, really like the pain of working out? How many of you like doing that? Well, I don't. I don't know many people that love the pain. My workout regimen with the guys I work out with, it's a lot of high intensity training. I don't like any of it. I wrote down things I don't like. I don't like the treadmill, squats, lunges, box jumps, pull-ups, sit-ups, planking, and my all-time least favorite exercise right now, burpees. I hate burpees. I don't like any of it. I don't like the pain. You know what I like? I like what comes on the other side of my pain. And I think you can probably tell, there are some results on the other side of my pain. I'm kidding. That's cheesy. Okay, you can take it down. But what do we know? We just know that if we avoid all pain, we're going to avoid growth. But let's take it a step deeper. This is so big. Almost everything you want in life but don't have is on the other side of your comfort zone. If you're sitting there today and you're thinking, I know I need some grit. I'm going through this message myself personally going, I think I need some grit. If you need grit, here's the good news. You have a God willing and ready to give it to you. Listen to how clear this verse is in Romans 15:5. It says this, may the God who gives endurance. Read it this way. May the God who gives grit. God is willing and ready to give you grit if you would rely on him. If you feel weak right now, understand God, when you turn to him and invite Jesus into your life and rely on him, he can give you the strength to get through anything you're going through right now. But it's not just inviting Jesus into your life, it's also inviting others by your side. This is the second thing we see from this verse in Hebrews chapter 12 is this, that grit is developed by surrounding yourself with others who won't let you quit. The verse says this, it says, since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, are you surrounded with gritty people in your life? If you're not, and so many people aren't, you'll never really have grit. You have to surround yourself. Think about the example throughout scripture with people of faith, people that had to push through pain, how that makes you gritty when you surround yourself with those people. Who's the Moses in your life? Who's the Moses in your life that's saying, hey, Moses had to take the people and they always wanted to turn back to Egypt and go back where they came from. Moses said, no, stay forward. Who's the Moses in your life saying, don't look back, don't turn back to your old way of life, keep going? Who is that? Who's the Abraham in your life? Abraham had to go to a place he'd never been before. He didn't even know what it was like. Who's the Abraham in your life saying, hey, I know you can't see over this mountain, but it's good. Keep going. Who's the David in your life that would say this, hey, that sin in your life, wow, that was bad. But your sin does not disqualify you from God using you for his purposes in your future. David murdered someone. He was an adulterer. And God still used his life as a man after God's own heart. Who's the Paul in your life? Paul had a messy, terrible past. Who's the Paul in your life looking at you and saying, I see your past, but suck up, buttercup. Your past doesn't disqualify you. Get going and get some grit. Do you have people like that in your life?